Good evening, everyone. This is LK on K Talk here for the White Horse Militia on Kent Independent Radio. If you're listening to this right now, that basically means that this is a pre-recorded podcast of this show. And in today's show, we are going to be talking mostly about something that our government in the United Kingdom is putting forward for the general public. And as I said, speaking on behalf of the White Horse Militia here on this podcast for tonight, this is about blank fire firearms. Before we get started, though, I want to thank the White Horse Militia for allowing me to upload this podcast onto their YouTube channel, and it will be also uploaded onto X as well via their channel as well on their X account. So, without further ado, I think we should get into the story right now. And according to the United Kingdom's National Crime Agency, we have here amnesty to be held for blank firing guns popular with organised criminals. So, for those who don't know, for the average person out there, blank fire guns, or what I would call blank fire firearms, are essentially guns that do not shoot bullets, they just shoot blanks. And these are specially made primarily just to shoot blanks. However, it looks like that the National Crime Agency has a stick up their backside, because now they want to basically criminalise what I would call a large cap gun. By a cap gun, I mean anyone who's been young once in their life. We all have, I would assume. If not, that'd be very concerning. But anyone who's ever owned a firearm, at least as a kid, if you had a toy gun, most of the time it's going to be something that will just make a noise, or it's going to be like a cap gun. And cap guns are common in the United Kingdom as well. You can find them on kids' magazines as well. And basically what it is just something that pops a puff of smoke from the barrel. Now, a blank fire gun is meant to simulate a more realistic approach to firearms without actually using live ammunition. So in the United Kingdom, while handguns are essentially banned in the UK, but rifles and shotguns are legal as long as they go under a certain kind of certificate, be it a firearm certificate or a shotgun certificate. For blank fire guns, there is no license or certificates required to own one, as long as you're over the age of 18. I will also have to make note that this amnesty that they're putting forward does not necessarily mean that all blank firing guns are going to be criminalised or made illegal. Only certain models by certain companies, and we will talk about that in this story. So if I just pop it up on my end, I'm going to read through it. So basically, as the story goes, amnesty to be held for blank firing guns popular with organised criminals. Tests by the National Crime Agency and policing show 4 Turkish models are readily convertible and therefore illegal. And this is quite interesting, because I was actually looking online on various different shops where you could buy blank firing guns. These are things like surplus stores or air gun shops or BB gun stores and things like that. And every single one of them, which deals with certain particular firearms, like blank fire guns, they are either all sold out, but in reality they're not sold out. They are made to be out of stock for the purpose that no one is allowed to own them now, because they are now deemed as illegal. So, an amnesty will be held early next year for owners of 4 types of top venting blank firearms to be surrendered after tests showed they are illegal. Now, before I will continue reading on, I would like to say that technically the particular ones that they're talking about here are ones that I actually own myself. So basically what I mean by top venting blank fires, as they call them, as I say here, top venting blank firers, TVBFs, are legal to buy in the United Kingdom without a licence by over 18, unless they are readily convertible. And what I mean by convertible means that if you can take out the barrel of the gun and put a new barrel on it that makes it fire projectiles, that therefore guns that can do that are deemed illegal. It's funny, and the reason it's funny to me It's because, like I said, I own these particular types of firearms that they are addressing. So let's continue. In their original state, they have a fully blocked barrel and are designed to discharge only blank cartridges, which they do when discharged. Combustion gases vent from the top of the weapon, which they do. And like I said, I own them. I've got one next to me right now. This one is a revolver, and it's from a brand called Echo. At the moment, I don't have any rounds in it. But if that actually fired, it will have basically a puff of flash and the smoke come from the top of the gun itself. That's why they call them top venting. But as for me, like I said, that one's a revolver. I also have one that is similar to the model that is shown in the image as well. So, without further ado, we also got to continue from that. So, TVBFs are sold with at least 50% of their visible surface painted a bright colour, which my one is. My revolver is got a blue barrel, which means that it's blank fire. However, it says here, criminals paint them black so they look like an original lethal purpose, which is also called them as OLP weapon. But anyone who paints their guns black either have criminal intent or they just want it to look like the real thing. I mean, I've got airsoft guns which are basically painted black, which if you were to buy a airsoft gun that is black, that would be deemed as a RIF, which means a realism imitation firearm. They can only be bought if you have a certain permit or a license, whatever they call them, or a card. This is usually people who's played on airsoft fields. However, it is not illegal to own an airsoft gun that is black. So all my airsoft guns are black. And I just got them sitting up on my wall because I just have a lot of guns hanging up on my wall. That's just how I am. But as for my blank fire guns, I intentionally keep them with their bright coloured areas, like on the barrels or the slide on top of the Glocks, because I do not want them to basically be seen as an illegal weapon. But apparently it's not my choice anymore because the police basically has deemed them illegal. Anyways, we shall continue. But since 2021, UK law enforcement has recovered 800 of the guns converted to fire live ammunition. 800 guns converted. Obviously, like I said, they did note that these are ones that they got from organised criminals, not necessarily the law-abiding citizens, which we have to put in consideration. There are probably thousands or hundreds of thousands of blank fire guns out there in private hands, but doesn't necessarily mean that every single one of them are criminal. Such is their popularity with criminals. The number of discharges last year from TVBFs outnumbered those of original lethal purpose firearms, 64 compared to 42. The firearms are the Turkish models Rite, Echo, Sionic, ISCC, and Blow. Now, I own Echo. They were used in at least 4 killings in the United Kingdom in the last 2 years. And there we go. That's basically how dramatic the National Crime Agency is. Because in the last 2 years, 4 people died by these blank fire guns that were converted. And I'm like thinking, how many people have been killed by crossbows or bows? I mean, there was the stories of a couple of months ago about someone who shot, I think, 3 people with a crossbow. Just this year alone. And that's a crossbow. That is ridiculous. But when it comes to crossbows, you can actually own them with no license. So this is the thing that makes me laugh. If you own something that is non-lethal, that don't shoot anything, that is now illegal. But you can own a crossbow without a license. You can also buy bolts for a crossbow. Completely legal. The logic for the National Crime Agency makes no sense. Why are they banning basically a giant or a different form of a cap gun? Because apparently people who do something illegal to it are just turning it into something that is illegal. The act of conversion itself is already illegal. But now they're just outright banning something that was legal. It is absolutely stupid. So, regardless of that, as they say here, the four brands, which overwhelmingly account for the number of the blank fire guns in UK circulation, so essentially almost every blank fire gun in the UK is under these brands. That's why I say Echo has been one of the more common ones that I'm aware of. So basically, now they have been shown to be illegal under Section 1 or 6 of the Firearms Act of 1982, meaning that they are prohibited firearms under Section 5.1 of the Firearms Act of 1968. Importers and retailers have been informed and instructed to cease trade in them. Boulder Falls will cease further importations of the four brands. The amnesty will be held in England and Wales from the 3rd of February to the 28th of February, basically the end of the month, for ownerships to hand in their firearms at police stations. Interestingly though, there is no compensation. You just have to hand them in and that's it. You get nothing for it, no reward, no nothing, no money. Just hand it in. You're basically voluntarily just giving something in with nothing in return. This is what we call control. And this is a good thing that the United States of America voted for Donald J. Trump in the United States presidential election of 2024. Hopefully, things like the NFA, the National Firearms Act, I believe it's called, and the ATF, I think it's the other one, will be either deregulated or at least abolished, preferably abolished, so the Americans can have their full Second Amendment rights. And I, as a gun enthusiast, a gun owner myself, a proud gun owner, would hope the same for the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, though, that is a very long-haul battle that is going to be fought for a long time, and I don't think the majority of the British people will allow it. Farmers and people of the rural community will most likely, or I would hope, would be more on my side of the argument here, for the reasons of owning firearms. But obviously for different reasons. In the rural areas, it's mostly for, say, pest control, making sure that their livestock on the farms are not being, killed by, say, foxes. So there are reasons why farmers would have such arms on their persons to protect their farms and their livestock from any aggressive animal. Regardless, like I said, by the end of February, you have to hand in your blank fire guns. Otherwise, as I say here, possession of one of the guns after the amnesty ends could result in a prison sentence of 10 years. Diana Johnson, who's an MP, as well as a Minister of State for Policing, Crime and Crime Prevention, said, "Dangerous criminals will always look for new ways to acquire weapons, but we remain vigilant in taking them out of their hands." Well, you're doing it in the wrong way, in my opinion. And the reason I say they're doing it in the wrong way is because, just like in America, the way that they have these red flag laws in America, these and the gun control narratives seems to be more penalising to the average law-abiding citizen as opposed to criminals. The people who will still find a way to get around these laws or simply just don't care about the law are criminals. They don't care. The criminals do not care. They will find ways around it. They will smuggle in these weapons. And then again, what's going on with the smuggling of illegal arms in the United Kingdom anyways? We have gangs in London, criminals across the UK, who actually have actual firearms that fire projectiles. They are in possession of real guns because they smuggled them into the country. And the police ain't doing anything about that. I suppose it's easy target for the average law-abiding citizen, mainly because in the United Kingdom, majority of the British population is disarmed. So therefore, most people here are very comfortable with the government pretty much walking all over them. Well, as a proud Kentish man, we, the Kentish people, are defiant and we do not like or trust Westminster in controlling our lives. The real Kentish people believe that. But the rest of the UK, on the other hand, is a different story. So, other than that, continue on. These, like I say, these weapons are illegal and it is vital any member of the public possessing these blank firers hands them into their local police station. We will continue to keep the legislation on dangerous weapons under constant review to reach a new or to review to react to new threats and support police to make our streets safer. Well, in my eyes, I personally disagree with that premise, and we'll finish it off here. The NCA Deputy Director, Charles Yells, said, although firearms crime in the United Kingdom is relatively low compared to Europe and is among the lowest in the world, these converted guns pose a significant threat. To who? Other criminals? Because I'm guaranteeing most people who have these guns converted are criminals to begin with, who are probably using them in gang warfare within London, because obviously it's a lot more harder to get real guns into the streets of London nowadays, unless you're like part of the more heftier organised crimes. But other than that, they think that a blank fire gun is more of a threat than, say, the knife epidemic that goes on in London. How many flipping young criminals or young people on the streets of Britain today are carrying knives in their pockets or machetes down their trouser legs? We've seen a lot of videos like that around on YouTube. There are a lot of people out there literally carrying bladed weapons on their persons, and this was very common during the Southport riots, when I wouldn't exactly call them riots because not majority of things weren't smashed up, but I would say in the context that is more easier for most people to understand. We would just call it riot for the time being. But the Southport riots, you had a lot of, like, say, those of the Muslim communities who were heavily armed with weapons, and the so-called far-right thugs who were mostly not armed with anything. If anything, I don't think any of them were armed with anything. But the Muslims that came out, my goodness, the Islamists, they were armed. They had machetes on them. And I recall one incident where the police basically told these Muslims people, the Islamists, to surrender their weapons to their local mosque. Not the police station, the mosque. So give your weapons to your mosque, basically. Give it to your to the holders of your faith, your faith leaders. Let them be the ones. Yes, because I'm pretty sure they won't use that in some later event, if in case another race riot will erupt in the United Kingdom at some point in the near future. Yes, they got all them weapons all stocked in a mosque. Yes, coincidence, I think. Very coincidental. Yeah, see, where people like me who owns blank fire guns that ain't no harm to any person, especially if you're a law-abiding citizen, we are basically being told that we've got to hand in essentially our adult toy guns to the police station. Otherwise, we'll be put in prison for 10 years. Which is a bit over the top, because these things don't even kill people unless you have illegally converted them. Like I said, the conversion of them is an illegal act anyways, and you're not meant to do it. So just converting them alone makes you a criminal. But now anyone owning them is now criminal. So I guess that makes someone like me a criminal, because I am now in possession of not just one, but 2 illegal firearms. It just makes me laugh. It really does make me laugh. So let's continue what they say. So, what have they got here? Protecting the public from the threat of firearms is a principal priority for the NCA and partners in policing and border force. It is crucial that we work with industry partners to prevent any further access to these easily converted firearms. Well, did you know that you could technically make a firearm out of nothing but bamboo or just any kind of other materials? Like I said, you know how easy it is to make a crossbow or something that can fire a projectile? Like I said, get rid of these blank fire guns that don't kill anyone unless you convert them. But you can go to Amazon right now and you can buy a bow. A bow. Even a bow that has a draw weight of about £40. That is enough to kill somebody if you hit him in the right place. Completely legal. A crossbow. Again, you can easily buy that on most online stores. Mostly stores to do with like survival and prepping and stuff like that. I know that because I own a crossbow and I own a bow. My bow's about £40 draw weight and my crossbow is £175 draw weight. Like I said, these things are completely legal to buy. 100% legal to buy, and they are more lethal than my revolver that is sitting next to me right now on my desk. Logic. The logic from the police, the National Crime Agency, makes no logical sense to me of what they're doing. This is just another way of the police and the government to have control of the people, in my eyes. And I just am not for that. I honestly am not for that. So let's continue what they have to say here then. So the Assistant Chief Constable, Tin McAuliffe, National Police Chiefs Council lead for the criminal use of firearms, said, "These firearms are very appealing to criminals and offenders who convert them can generate large profits." Well, I am not a criminal, but I guess in the eyes of the law now, I guess I am a criminal because I said these blank firearms for me, I bought them because I like to use them just for shooting, really, not for any other reasons, but just to get the feel of a handgun and just to like pop off a few empty shells. There's nothing more exciting and more fun than having that nice little adrenaline rush from the loud bangs of a gun and the shells popping out and a bit of the recoil with it. It's only a little recoil because, like I said, it's not pushing a projectile and there's not a lot of gunpowder in the bullet casing anyways. So therefore meaning that you're not going to get a major recoil. So the more easier to control. Even then, you don't necessarily need to control them anyways because they're not shooting a projectile. That's what I mean. They are completely safe. They're completely harmless unless you do something illegal and criminal to them. But yes, someone like me, yes, I'm now in the wrong. It's now illegal for me to have it. So regardless of that, let's see what else they're saying. During the last 2 years, policing and their NCA have identified and disrupted several workshops used to convert these pistols into lethal weapons. So like I said, so you are literally identifying and disrupting workshops. See, that's what you should be targeting. You should be hitting the criminals' operations directly. You don't just say, oh, because a certain thing is being used for criminal activities, we're just going to ban the item itself. It's like cars are used for crime, for getaway cars, or for hit and run. Machetes are used. Knives is used as well as weapons. When are we banning knives? When are we banning machetes? The reality is they're not banning this stuff because they say, oh, they're not used for the purpose that they were made for. Yeah, and neither are these blank fire guns that are being converted, are not being used for their proper purpose. And the proper purpose of a blank fire gun is not for anything criminal. They are basically there for the purpose of recreational use or a purpose of leisure. It's the same difference with archery or crossbows. You're not allowed to, obviously, you can own a crossbow, but you can't use a crossbow to hunt. But you can use it for leisure. You can use it for recreational use. You can use bows for the purpose of recreation and leisure. You can't use a bow for hunting. But if you use a crossbow or a bow to shoot somebody, yes, that's a criminal act. You're not allowed to do that. Which makes sense. It makes sense. It's the same with any. It's like with airsoft. Airsoft is used for the purpose of playing airsoft games. But if you shoot somebody with it outside of an airsoft field, and you injure them or you harm them, like I said, an airsoft gun is more harmful than a blank fire gun. I have just no understand. It just makes no sense to me. In the same period, large numbers of converted weapons were recovered from multiple locations, alongside thousands of rounds of blank caliber and modified ammunition. One investigation recovered more than 400 converted weapons from a single crime group. Oh, there we go. There is a strong demand for them, evidenced by the number of imported and subsequent recovery from criminals. Stopping the sale of these guns will go a significant way to help protect the public. No, it won't. And the reason I say it won't is because it makes no difference when it comes to, say, knife crimes. Knife crime is still going up. It's always been going up. A lot of crime is going up, and it always has been going up, and will always keep going up until the police actually get down on it and restore things like stop and search. But my main point being here, it seems to me that the direction that the police are going with the banning of these blank fire guns is nothing to do with the crime, nothing to do with preventing crime. It is all to do with control. And like I said, people like me who owns blank fire guns are being penalised for owning a weapon. Like I said, by the end of February, they are going to basically say, anyone who has not handed in their blank fire guns, you could be put in prison for up to 10 years if you have one. If you are found in possession of one. I'm in a possession of 2. Does that mean that I'm going to be put in prison for 20 years? I mostly keep when it comes to my firearms, be it my airsoft, or my blank fire guns, or my legal arms, under obviously certification, all guns in the UK are registered. When it comes to things like that, I make sure that they are securely locked. For example, my blank fire guns, I put them in their pistol cases, then I padlock them. Then I put those padlocked pistol cases into a rifle case, which I also padlock. So it's basically double locked in secure gun cases. So no one can get access to them, especially since I am the only person with the keys to access those cases and those arms. To me, I just think this is just another one of the government's power grabs of people's individual liberties and rights. And as a Kentish person who believes in a free and independent Kent, hence the name of the radio station, Kent Independent Radio, we say no. I am not handing in my guns, be it blank firing or otherwise. And like I said, I know it sounds like a talking point from the White Horse Militia, but that's because all of us believe in the same kind of messaging, the same kind of premise. We are gun lovers. We like hunting. We are also survivalists and preppers. We like doing things that most other people probably don't like doing. But we also believe in supporting the local community and supporting their rights and their freedoms and their liberties from a government that is overreaching and is just trying to seek more and more control of the civilian population. And I think taking away people's recreational and leisure items with no compensation and with no incentive to hand them in. You'll probably find that most people who own these blank fire guns will most likely not hand them in. Criminals definitely will not hand them in. That is a fact. The criminals will... Anyone knows that a criminal is not just going to be like, they're going to make blank firing guns illegal and they want us to hand them in. Okay, let's just grab our guns and bring them into the police station. Yes, that's not going to happen. Not with criminals. And that's someone who isn't a criminal. has no criminal convictions, no criminal records, no nothing, this circumstances and this incident may actually put me, or may actually give me, a criminal record. Because, like I said, I am saying openly, publicly, because this is going to be on YouTube, so everyone around the world, and in Kent and in Britain, will hear this, even the police. I am not handing in my blank fire guns. Period. You ain't giving me a good reason why. Give me a reason why I should. Why should I hand in something that is of no danger to anybody? Of no threat to anybody? Why are you telling me that I have to hand my guns in when they are not of any threat? Like I said, these things don't fire. I have these guns, like I said, locked away in a pistol case, then put into a rifle case, both of them being locked. My ammunition for them are locked away in a separate cabinet that is also under lock and key, and they are in separate areas. Ammunition is separate from the actual gun themselves, and the guns are also kept separate, which is the way that law in the United Kingdom expects from a gun owner. If you're a gun owner in England, or in Wales, or in Scotland, the law states that you can have your guns securely locked in a gun locker, which is police approved, or in my instance, as blank firing guns, as well as airsoft guns, I lock them away in hardened gun cases that are padlocked and locked, and you can't get in them without keys. Even with my airsoft guns, the ones that I don't put on my gun racks, they are put in secured containers, in secured lockers, secured cases, and only I have the key. And my ammunition is stored separately from them, as is stated by the law. If the police want to come and question me, so be it. But if you expect me to hand my guns in, no, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not with me. You can try and take them, but you're not going to take them without a fight, be it a legal fight or otherwise. See this as a form of protest. But like I said, as far as I am aware, in accordance with the law, when it comes to the responsibility of firearms, I am doing everything within the legal parameters and the legal realms when it comes to securing firearms. What are the solutions? What solutions could they probably say when it comes to blank fire guns? How about you put in a legislation or a ruling that even to own blank fire guns, they should come under some sort of registration or licensing. I mean, that might be a fair compromise, as the law currently stands in the United Kingdom, though personally I do believe in a more of a Second Amendment style ruling when it comes to firearms, which means no license, no permits, no registration, just pure God-given right to keep and bear arms, which is stated in the US Constitution under the Second Amendment, but that also gets its wordings and its premise from the English Bill of Rights of 1689, which is also basically the same thing. Which means that we came up with the idea of the rights to keep and bear arms first. I am just sticking by the English tradition of gun ownership. However, like I said, if we want to put in more contemporary sense of the times, like I said, firearms in the United Kingdom are basically under certification and registration. You have to basically have the gun registered, and you also need to have a certificate to own one too. And it has to need a locker or a gun cabinet or something to lock it in that is meant to be police approved, and the ammunition is locked in a separate location. You could have something like that in a similar manner that you have when it comes to airsoft guns, when it comes to buying an airsoft gun that is pure black and not two-toned, which is you need to have some sort of permit or a certificate or license. So like with an RIF, which is a realism imitation firearm, should be essentially a permit. Same for, you could apply the same thing for a blank fire gun. If you want a blank fire gun, you need to have it registered and licensed. That would be, in my eyes, to begin with, in the contemporary times, a fair compromise. Not just outright ban the bloody thing and just say, oh, by the way, you're not allowed it now, otherwise you're going to be put in prison for 10 years. Anyways, that's all I've got to say on this matter, and it is a bit longer than normal, but usually, like I said, this is the first podcast from the Kent Independent Radio on K-Talk that is being shown on YouTube under the Whitehorse Militia. So thank you for listening. I have been Lucas at K-Talk, and I will see you if this video goes viral or goes good. I will see you maybe in another video, and we'll be talking more about more local news and coverages that involves the county of Kent. So thank you for listening, and I will see you another time. Thank you.